Folks, good morning or good evening, everyone. Welcome to Twitter Space with me. My name is Kalu Aja. This is where we talk about money, finance, and of course, the economy, how we make it personal for you, and how we make it or keep it very, very simple, right? So today we're going to talk about exchange rates. How are those rates determined? Why is one naira? Um, 600 or 500 or 700? Who determines that, right? How does it work outside Nigeria, and what's the interrelationship with that exchange rate and of course the inflation? Of course, the backdrop to this discussion is about what's happening to the naira. 2 weeks ago, we had the CBN, the Central Bank of Nigeria, wants to change the color, i.e., change the design of the currency. They have their reasons, monetary policy reasons, also reasons to do outside monetary policy. We've seen the naira rise in the unofficial market, what we call the black market. We've seen it go up, i.e., we've seen it weaken, right? So the dollar has gone as high, I think I saw last time as high as 835 naira, and then start to come down. So we've seen it come all the way from, say, about 600 all the way to 825, now start to come down, right? What is going on? What do we expect going forward? How does inflation factor really in all this? That's what we want to talk about today. So if you allow me, let me give you the theoretical. Let's do the theoretical part, how these things are supposed to work. Then we'll sort of come home to Nigeria and see why the theoretical part, how it's set up to work elsewhere, may not be working in Nigeria, right? So if you're writing down, let's write down four things, right? We're going to do imports and exports. Or just say imports, exports, and inflation. Those are going to be our three things we're going to use to talk about the theoretical part of exchange rate and how they're determined. Now, let's take a country. We could take Nigeria, for instance, right? Let's take Nigeria and let's take cassava. Let's say, for instance, that the world suddenly discovers that cassava has this cure for maybe cancer. So it becomes very, very expensive, right? So cassava is now needed by the entire world. And Nigeria is the largest producer of cassava on earth, right? We produce cassava. I didn't say export, we produce a lot of cassava. So what happens to the naira? We use the naira in Nigeria. So what would happen? So what would happen is this. Everyone is going to come to Nigeria and start to buy cassava from Nigeria, right? So how will they buy that cassava? There's a lot of cassava in my village in Ohafia. How will they pay those farmers in Ohafia? Well, those farmers use naira. Right? So the foreigners from America will come to Nigeria with their dollars. They'll go to their bank, maybe, and go to any bank, exchange their dollars for naira, and then run up to Ohafia to buy cassava. What this means is that the banks in Nigeria will see a lot of inflow of dollars. So when the banks see a lot of inflow of dollars, what will they do? They will lend out those dollars to importers and guys that want to do dollar loans. So when there's a surplus of dollars, what happens to the price of dollars on the streets? It will go down, because demand and supply mean that if you have more supply of something, then the price will come down, as long as that supply can exceed the demand, right? So because there's a lot of dollars in Nigeria, because those foreigners have come to Nigeria to buy cassava, then the exchange rate of the naira becomes stronger, right? That means dollar is going down, right? So they go buy the cassava and they export it. So as long as they are buying that cassava, as long as Nigeria is exporting, what happens to the naira? It keeps on going up, because there is a lot of supply of dollars to Nigeria from the foreigners that want to buy our local cassava. So more buying of local cassava, the value of naira keeps on going up, the exchange value of the dollar keeps on going down. So this is scenario number one. So what happens in Ohafia now? All those farmers now have a lot of money. Before they were selling one bag of cassava for maybe 1,000 naira. Now they are selling one bag of cassava for maybe 10,000, 50,000. What do you think is going to happen in Ohafia when they have this surplus inflow of money? Well, you're correct. You guessed right. There will be quote unquote inflation in Ohafia because now everyone has got cash. But everyone has cash. Everybody wants to buy a fridge, an air conditioner, a brand new car. But the supply of those things are not a lot in Ohafia. So again, they want to buy the fridge, but they don't have fridge in Ohafia. So what happens to the price of fridge in Ohafia? It goes up. So you then see inflation going up. When I mean Ohafia, I'm talking of Nigeria, guys. So you then see inflation going up because you have a lot of inflow of dollars into Nigeria, which has been exchanged to Naira, and then the guys that export the cassava then have Naira to spend. If there is no supply of what they're going to buy things with, then there will be local inflation in Nigeria. So when there's inflation in Nigeria, what happens to the price of that same cassava? That cassava that people are buying, what happens to the price? Again, you guessed right. The price of that cassava will go up. So the price of the cassava that the foreigners will come to Nigeria to buy would go up from that 1,000 to 10,000. So then what then happens? The foreigners will no longer buy Nigerian cassava because it's expensive. If they put $1, they used to buy 500 Naira worth of cassava. Now with the same $1, they can only buy 300 worth of cassava. So what will they do? They'll go to Ghana or they'll go to Thailand and try to buy cassava from Thailand because Thailand's cassava is produced cheaper than Nigeria's cassava because there's less inflation in Thailand. So what then happens? So all the foreigners then leave Nigeria. They no longer buy Nigerian cassava. So what happens to the exchange rate now of Nigeria? You then have high inflation in Nigeria, but you also have a very, very strong Naira. So you have a strong Naira and high inflation. So the guy in Ohafia now has got dollars in his pocket and high inflation. So he can't buy local cassava because local cassava is expensive. So what will the guy in Ohafia now do? He will now import cassava from Thailand. Why is he importing cassava? Because it's cheaper. Remember, his cassava was cheap. Foreigners came and bought it. The price went up because there was not enough supply. The price went up. His own local cassava is no longer competitive. So it's cheaper for him to simply go to Thailand and import cassava, which is what he does. So Nigeria then moves from a cassava growing country to a cassava importing country. Why? Because our currency, the Naira, is very, very strong. So imports are cheap for us. So when we start to import, what happens? The Naira becomes weaker. Remember, the Naira was weak before the Americans came to buy the cassava. It went up because they were buying cassava with their dollars. They brought dollars to our Nigerian banks. Nigerian banks gave them Naira. Now it's the reverse. Now the local Nigerians are going to banks and saying, we want to get those dollars that the Americans gave you. We want you to give it to us, right? So as the banks are releasing those dollars to Nigerian guys to import cassava, the value of Naira falls. So dollar rises again. And then when it rises again, what happens to inflation? It starts to even go up more and more. Because when we import that product now from Thailand, we now have to exchange it at a weaker Naira, which then means we're importing that inflation from Thailand. So you see the thing with this exchange rate, inflation would occur both ways when you are producing locally and when you are importing. What do you guys think is the problem with this scenario I've painted? Where do you think we went wrong? Did we go wrong when the Americans rushed to Nigeria to buy cassava? Or did we go wrong when we started to import cassava? If you listen to the story, I'm trying to really simplify a very, very complicated macroeconomic process. But if you listen carefully, the problem is the supply of cassava. We don't have enough cassava in Nigeria to supply the Americans. That's why the price went up. If we had enough cassava to supply the Americans, then the price will really go up as much. Then that means that we're able to keep our currency, the local naira, it won't inflate. If we keep our local currency low, then we get more and more Americans coming in here to buy cassava. So our naira becomes quote expensive because it rises in value, but we don't get that local inflation. That's what's happening in China. So China imports a lot, which means they take their local currency and buy dollars. So when they do that, the value of that currency falls. But they bring in those inputs into their country, then they export finished products. So they earn back their dollars at a higher rate. So their currency goes back up again. They've done this over the years that they've accumulated 3 trillion in dollar reserves. This is the surplus that they've earned from imports and exports. So look at our story about Nigeria. Is the problem the imports or the exports? That's the story is really that we are importing more because our currency got expensive. That's the theoretical part of what we're talking about. That when you have a currency, you really have, if you demand local dollar, if you hold a dollar in your pocket, you are importing. It doesn't matter if you go to the ports to import. It doesn't matter. As long as you hold a dollar, you are demanding dollars. If you hold naira, you are demanding naira. So Nigeria, why do you think the dollar has gone high to say 850 to $1? Because more Nigerians are demanding dollars. That's the same thing in North Africa. The more Nigerians demand dollars, then the dollar price goes up. So why are more Nigerians demanding dollars? The same example we gave, because it's cheaper to import the cassava from Thailand than to make the cassava in Nigeria. How is this possible? Well, there's power supply in Thailand. There's lower cost of funds in Thailand. There's no insecurity in quotes in Thailand, right? There's really lower cost to do business. If you're a farmer in Thailand, you get better incentives than if you're a farmer in Nigeria. That's why their cost has fallen. Hence, the Americans are no longer coming here to buy our local cassava. So the exchange rate is really driven by imports and exports. The more you export, the more dollars you get. The more you import, the less dollars you get. And the exchange rate is driven really by, so the supply is driven really by the internal conditions, your interest rate, your inflation. If SMEs in Nigeria are able to produce cassava, then the price of cassava will fall and the foreigners will come here and buy. A few months ago, Nigeria had the largest exports of cashew nuts. And I asked an agri guy, I think he came on the space. I said, why did we suddenly have this huge exports of cashew nuts? What happened? And he explained to me that because Naira got devalued, the foreigners left their traditional market where they buy cashew nuts in West Africa. I think it's Equatorial Guinea and Cote d'Ivoire, something like that. And they all came to Nigeria because it was cheaper to buy cashew nuts from Nigeria because the Naira had been devalued. That was the market, right? So we got this inflow of dollars to buy our cashew nuts because we reduced the exchange rate of the Naira. It's the exact same thing. Before I started this topic, I put up a banner and those are the exchange rates for Nigeria in September 1983. If you look at that paper, I can put it up there. It's on my tweet feed. I'm going to share it on this space. The US dollar exchanged for 1 naira and 50 kobo. So if you had if you had 1 naira 50 kobo, you would buy $1. This was September 1983. So I asked the question, was this good or bad for Nigeria? If you look at it critically, this was very bad for Nigeria. Lots of Nigerians look at this. This was the good old days when we had a dollar going for $1 naira. No, guys, this was bad. Why is it bad? Because at $1 to 1 naira, we were making imports very, very cheap. So why would I grow cassava in my village if I can simply take my $1 and import cassava from Thailand? That's what this exchange rate means. So when you make your currency very, very cheap, then imports become very, very cheap. So your local industry suffers. So the question is going to ask about Nigeria has got a higher rate of exchange rate. So why is their currency falling? Why Nigeria's naira rate is very, very weak. So why are we not exporting? That is the problem. The dollar rate in Nigeria is not low because of a planned strategy. It's simply low because we have no manufacturing capacity. We have not developed our SMEs to export, increase supply. That's what's going on, guys. Let me stop here. There's a lot I would love to cover, but I'll stop here just to let's get conversation going back and forth, and then we can cover more. But I think the sum of what I'm saying is this: if you have a very, very expensive, or what we call a very strong currency, where you have like in 1983 September, you had 1 naira 50 kobo going for $1. What you are saying is that you are encouraging imports to come to your country. Remember, the dollar is what we call the reference currency. When you want to import, you import and export using the dollar. That's your reference. So if you can import it very, very cheap using that dollar, you would import more. If the dollar becomes expensive, which means it's say 1 naira or maybe 200 naira to $1, then you are incentivizing your local guys to produce, because now if you export more, you get more of that reference currency. Everybody wants the dollar. It's not because the dollar is the US is better, but the dollar is the reference currency for export and for settlement. So you need the dollar. It doesn't matter if you like the US or you don't like the US. Iran, North Korea, even the Taliban, they all use the dollar. It's the reference currency. When you trade, you want to get the dollar. Look at the dollar as gold. It's not pegged to gold, but it replaces gold. Before there was the dollar, the pound, and the sterling, right? What did you do? You would sell and you would get paid in gold. Now, or gold or silver or whatever. Now it's the dollar. So you want to have an economy that you attract more dollars in. And you do this by creating lower cost of production in your country and making your currency weak to attract those folks to come to Nigeria and buy cassava. Ike, what's up, man? What do you want to talk about? Let me hear, have your views. Go ahead.
I am quite interested, but I like the way you kind of make it easy for everyone to follow and understand the logic behind it. I think the core message is that we're not producing as we should, we're not produce. Think why you didn't need to even export. And as a result, that has a very, very huge impact on our economy, on our finance, and as a country as a whole. The bit where I still get a bit lost within this mission is how does this actually relate in terms of fiscal policy of the government? How does the fiscal policy of the government and even the monetary policy of the state actually affect? Because those they are not in isolation. If you get what I'm saying, even though I'm quite agree with you that the bulk of the matter is this, okay, but the fiscal policy and the monetary policy of the government actually also play a kind of important role as of our humanitarian. And then the other thing that you always overlook again actually has to do with the ease of doing business in Nigeria. Which is basically saying that how is our society organized? So in Nigeria, for instance, services don't work. We don't have that address. Same way address would say off this place close to somebody's house. So it's difficult to so our society is not really organized. Therefore, it makes the ease of business difficult. It makes it difficult to operate within Nigeria. So everything is very, very expensive. So it becomes cheaper to actually import than to produce. But I would like you to, if you have the time, what you have talked about is kind of if you can create a similar system to just show how the fiscal policy and the monetary policy as a whole in all this. Thank you.
Yeah, you can hang on there as well. So just for folks to follow what you're saying. So the fiscal policy is the taxation. So what EK is saying is this: if the executive, the federal government wants to create policy, right? They tax you and they build a road, they tax you and they build a port or an airport. The Central Bank of Nigeria does the monetary policy, money. So they are involved with the exchange rates. So in Nigeria, what is going on is that the fiscal side, the executive, and the monetary side, the Central Bank of Nigeria, they are not really talking. They are not really talking. And I'll give you a good example. The president says we want to diversify. So he says we want to diversify from crude oil and want to do it to agriculture. What's that for? Probably for exports, right? But then you see the federal government will shut the borders because what are you exporting? Not just crude oil, you want to export agricultural products as well. So yes, you can export through the sea, but the borders were shut. That's number one. Number two, if you want to export, then you cannot have a fixed currency that is very, very strong, which means that nobody is going to export cassava if they are told to pay to the Central Bank of Nigeria at 435 naira. That's why it's the Central Bank writing memos every day, or quote, right, saying, hey, if you don't remit your export, we're going to fine you. Nobody's going to remit because they can sell that same dollar on the streets of Lagos for about 600, 700. Why would they give to the Central Bank of Nigeria for 435 or 440? That's the problem, that the fiscal and the monetary have got to talk. If we want to diversify into agricultural exports, then our currency must mirror that policy. So we can have, like they have the importers, exporters windows. Open that window up. Say, let that window become the black market rate in quote. Then the federal government can have its own rate that it uses to do its own strategic investment. But the importers exporters window should be a totally floating rate. So that way, if I export cassava, I sell at the exact same rate that I sell on the black market. That's how you kill the black market. Then the central bank can go and say, we want to buy from you if they don't have enough in their own strategic dollar reserves. When they sell crude oil, it goes to the Central Bank of Nigeria. But if I sell cassava, let it go to the importers, exporters window. Let other money importers go to that same window. So if you want to import rice, you go to that window, and the price should not be fixed by the central bank. This is the policy that the policy is not agreeing with the intent of the federal government. The central bank is supposed to be independent. They're not supposed to take orders from the federal government. They're supposed to manage inflation. The federal government's job is to spend, because remember, they are politicians. The central bank is not a politician. It's supposed to manage the inflation caused by spending in the economy. So this is the problem. The exchange rate of the country should mirror the intent of the country. Look at the yen. Look at the South Korean currency. Look at the Vietnamese currency. It's very weak because they want to encourage exports. So they use their currency to drive the economic plan of the nation. But if you look at some other countries like Saudi Arabia, they peg their currency to the dollar, like UAE, Qatar. It's pegged. Why? Because those countries are oil economies. Even though exporting, they want to ensure that their crude oil, the crude oil economy, is tied to how they get their forex coming in. They're not exporting anything from Saudi than crude oil. So they peg their currency to the dollar because that's the policy of their government. So for Nigeria, what do we want to do? Do we want to do import substitution or do we want to do export? Whatever it is we want to do, then the currency has to reflect that. There's nothing good, there's no good rate or bad rate. Floating is not good or better. It's just what's your objective? What do you want to achieve? Then you get it. Did you have a call back to that or should I try to continue next person?
I think you continue this person.
Gotcha. All right, Kazim. Hey, Kazim, how you doing? Kazim?
Yeah.
I can hear you very well. How you doing, sir?
All right. Thank you very was high. There's really a nice kind of asset in the second, and especially in this kind of the
Kazim, your audio is not that good. You put a back noise. Can you help us out? Kazim? Okay, let me take Dan. Dan, how you doing, sir? Dan Adam. Dan, how you doing? You've got the floor. Go ahead.
I think the CBN can be and the system where export the thing.
Yeah, I hear you.
Just
Good.
like the constant movement.
I hear you. Yeah, I hear you. Good question. Good question, Dan. So you are asking why can the Central Bank of Nigeria ask for, foreigners to pay in naira instead of dollars? Because they pay in naira. Good. Yeah, I'm just. So if they pay in naira, then the value of the naira will go up. That's your question. I get this question a lot. So good question. Let me explain why. Why not? Right? It depends on your policy. The economy of Nigeria is driven by imports. Imports of what? Let's just say PMS. The fuel in your car, the diesel in your office is all imported. So when we export crude oil, we earn dollars. Then we use that same dollar to then go and import PMS. Just example PMS. So if we insist that they pay us in naira, it will help naira go up. Then we take that same naira and exchange to dollars and buy PMS. So it doesn't make any sense. Russia was able to tell everyone to pay them in rubles. This kept the Russian ruble very, very strong. I think right now in the world, the ruble is number one or two in terms of strength to the dollar, number one or two. But Russia can do this because Russia doesn't really import a lot of things. They're not importing their basics. They don't import food. They're not importing fuel. They're not importing cement. They're importing chips. They're importing cars. They're importing lots of products. But the basics of life, they're not importing them. And even if they want to import them, they have 600 billion in foreign reserves. They can use to buy from China or India. So number one, we can't collect money we can't collect export in there number one, because we are importing lots in Nigeria. It's not that imports are bad, but we are importing inputs we have no business importing, especially PMS. So if we can stop importing PMS, we can stop importing food. You can ask ECOWAS to pay you in naira if that's your plan to have a strong naira, and it can work. That's the simple answer there. You're very welcome, sir. I've got Ajilore. Sorry. Can you hear me? Go ahead and speak, sir. Go ahead.
Apologies, I actually requested it. I'm here to learn.
No worries, no worries. Yeah. So, guys, I got you. So, since I don't have anyone present, so let's sort of talk about what's going on with the naira. Last week the naira went up from it went up from 825. I think it's now at about 7 or so, and it's rising, right? So, what's going on? No matter what you hear, guys, this is very, very basic. If the naira is going up, it's only because of one thing. There's supply of dollars in the market. That's it. There's a supply of dollars in the market. If there's supply of dollars in the market, or there's going to be supply of dollars in the market, then the naira will gain value. So if the naira is going up from 800 to 700, it is because there's new supply, or there's going to be supply in the market. I've seen some commentary about the exchange rate in the US, that US released their inflation rate. And because the inflation rate was released, it caused the interest rates in American dollars to start to fall. Right? I've seen that. Or the expectation is that the interest rates in America will start to fall. Hence, the dollar lost value. I think the dollar has fallen now to the lowest in about 14 years. The dollar has fallen to the lowest that was as of Friday in about 14 years. Is this fall in the dollar affecting the naira exchange rate? It's difficult to tell. But are we seeing that the guys on the street saw the fall in the dollar abroad and said, okay, we're going to we're going to reduce our exchange rate for dollar because we think interest rates in the Fed will go down. Remember, the Fed has not taken a decision. The market is serene. It's saying the Fed will reduce rate. They have not taken that decision yet. So I'm not sure it's the Fed decision. I think there's supply in the market from somewhere, and the folks that are aware are basically reacting to that incoming supply. We'll see in the next couple of days. But overall, there's 20 trillion. It's small. I just use 20 trillion. There's 20 trillion of new naira printed without backing from crude oil. This just means that there's small supply of naira chasing dollar. All this tells you that long term, unless Nigeria is able to export, you can't avoid it. It's going to be a weak currency. It's going to be a weak currency. There is no way around it. You can't be patriotic about it, right? The market will do what the market does, which is discover a price for your assets. Okay, go ahead, sir.
Yes, I wanted to just chip in a little bit because I initially believed that the naira design is going to have a very massive negative impact on our exchange rate. And you actually made me think when you pointed out that largely is crude, still of our crude that's going to impact that. I think this week there was a news around this week that pointed out that our production is going to go slightly to about 1.1 or 2 million barrel per. I think that's what actually affected naira. So people can see.
So say it again. You said what, the 1.2?
Yeah, between 1.1 and 1.2 million per barrel. That's news that came out. It wasn't very strong. It doesn't sound very crazy, but once I saw that news, the naira started giving against $20. So we should actually go and can see that they're going to have an increase in the price of our dollar. So it makes sense.
Yeah, so it can just be clear. What Ike is saying is that because the naira, if you guys don't know, right, the naira is really a derivative of the Brent crude. If Brent crude goes up, naira goes up. Naira is really that derivative of Brent crude. The problem we've had in the last, I would say, 24 months is that because we have not sold oil, even when the Brent crude goes up price, it doesn't affect naira anymore because we have about 700,000 barrels shut in. It's either stolen or just not being pumped. So that correlation unlocked, right? So Ike is saying that because people are reading that the 1.2 million, that oil exports is going to go up to 1.2 million barrels. What that means that the central bank is going to have more dollars. The central bank has more dollars. They are able to defend the naira value by selling dollars to guys that want dollars. Ike is a stretch because I know that for now the central bank itself is struggling to meet even the airlines their request. But what I know is this: the only way naira can gain value is if there's supply of dollars in the market. So somewhere there is supply or there's going to be supply. That's what's going on. But again, that high price of 850 is speculative. The naira is not weak to the point of 850. I don't think it's there yet, simply because of remittances. There's still a lot of Nigerians remitting money home to Nigeria. So not yet at 850. That's just my view. Let me get.
Go ahead. Before you drop that. But despite the remittances, CBN keep printing money more aggressively. I think they are printing. I'm not trying to turn down my mind, but I don't think they are printing more aggressively than the amount you would like to send back home. I think that is going to impact the dollar as well. Let me just leave it there for now.
You're right. Imagine if the central bank did not print 20 trillion. The naira would not be even at 500 or 600. So you're right. It's really the central bank is, in one way it's fighting inflation, in the other way it's beating inflation. So it's doing two things at the same time. It's raising rates to fight inflation, then it's printing money to spend on. So that's the problem we're having. That imagine if we didn't have the print of the naira, then the naira would not get to 850. It would get to 850. Let me just get this guy. Jack Alltree, how are you doing, sir? Got the floor.
Very well, thank you.
Summary, just like you said, it's a very simple demand and supply issue. We can speculate all we want on the trigger points, but in any market that is wild jumps like what 40%, 30% in such short time frames, it's not reflective of the long-lasting or rather macro nature of the market. So I wouldn't even put, if we're expecting what why price drops in the black market from 800 plus to 700 plus, it would not be related to speculations as regards how much crude we're going to be what's called producing on a daily basis, or what the price will be in the future, right? The black market players have the impacts that we say they have. They are very short term. These are people that are making profits off of the spread of their buy and sell, which is typically within the 5 to 10 naira window. So for them, it's somebody brought them down. How can I quickly get profits? So if somebody else is offering to buy it, they add the spread and they make that money, and that's what's reflecting on the black market. So what's reflecting on the actual exchange rates, more reflective of the macro picture, because we know that forward markets that entities use to protect their interests. Those ones are there longer term. If you're in business and you're an exporter or whatever producer in Nigeria and you repatriate your money out of the country, right? You'll be hedging against some wild swings. So those are more reflective. So my take is very simply, the CBN announcing that they are redesigning currency and the basis for that explanation. I don't even believe that anybody that is stocking currency in any significant volume is holding it in naira in the first place. Just because within Nigeria, you can go to zone 4 or wherever in Nigeria, Lagos, and get the amount of dollar that you need and go and put it in your bunker. Right? So I think anyone that's holding any substantial amount of in the first place, which is basically sucking out money out of the economy, is not even holding it in naira in the first place. And if there was someone holding it in naira and the CBN makes that announcement to stop them, they will probably go to the market and demand dollar, right? Because it's naira that you are redesigning and you're going to throw out of the economy, not dollar, right? So what that's going to do to the dollar in the short term is it's going to put pressure on the dollar. Everybody's going to
let me take you up on that. Nigerians hold a lot of cash, especially 2 months to an election in naira. This is especially.
Yeah. However, I think the data that is reflected from the bank to show that this amount of the size of the economy is this, and this small fraction is what you have in bonds. To give a concern for oversupplied naira is not something it's not data that is collected within the span of 1 to 8 months.
That is true. But the CBN is saying that a lot of cash is not passing through the banks. Hence, monetary policy is not effective. So we know that cash should not automatically pass through the banks. So look at what they are making you. They are saying every coin, every currency paper you have, wherever in the world you have it, it has to come back to the Nigerian bank before January. So they are going to effectively know by February 2023 the total amount of currency issued in Nigeria. They will know that by February 2023.
2023. Exactly. I think that the policy, while I think that the measure is a good one. I think it's inside. And rather not to be devil's advocate or to adopt a very cynical position, I think basically what has happened there, somebody has put a predetermined expense in Naira and has funded it. Someone was holding dollar, and that's reflected in what has happened to the rates. Given our shooting stream the past 1 year, when it jumped from 400 to the 500 range, or at least 600 range, what happened was that happened over the space of 2 weeks. In the next week, it dropped and then went up again. And I can predict that what's going to happen now is it's going to jump and even exceed the upper limits, upper 800.
Yeah, and to be clear, I tweeted it out. I said very conspiratorially, I confess, that if you had $1 million and you exchanged it last month, you got maybe 600 million. But if you exchanged it last week, you got 800 million. So you got extra 200 million.
Exactly. So if I'm the financial advisor for the ABC, for example, I'm just not a person.
You're gonna get in trouble.
For me, it's educated and guesses. If I'm the financial planner for ABC, and that research that in the run up to the elections, we're going to spend 3 billion, and I want to fund that budget. And we already have, because I know, and I know this will impact because people close to government and everything know that they're typically holding dollars, right? And I want to fund that, and I said, we have this information on service. That's when it said that this may be the dollar is going to shoot up, and then take our dollars to the market, we sell it, get it for cheap. So we had $1 million for each of calculation. We're holding $1 million. We put out this word. It's very easy how the market sentiments in the market reduce, right? And the dollar goes into 800. You know that when we take that to the market, we're selling a margin of 50 naira. That's a 50 million naira. And then we'll buy the dollar back, right? Because we're holding the money in dollars. But we bought the dollar back, we still have $1 million. All of a sudden, we have 50 million naira to spend on the build up to the election. So
That's my take as well. That's my take as well.
So that's what I happened.
Yeah.
I speculate all we want as regards to long-term index, which sadly for me, I think that because while we're doing all policies and there are all measures it's a long-term thing. We're going to see that in long-term, right? Businesses are unable to recover, just like you mentioned with flights. I'm not money today, and I know that if you're checking the flight prices, anyone can take me up on that. If you go to the website now and try to buy flights, Air France to wherever, you see exorbitant prices. If you have VPN and your address and you're buying the flight as if you're going to pick it from your destination to the US, for example, you see that the prices are cheaper. So basically, these companies have in the risk of not being able to
get dollars in Nigeria. So last question. So that means that, right, if the dollar is going down, but I can't buy it, there's something not right there, right? If I can buy it, it should be going down, right? So if it's going down and I can't buy it, that means the money, there's dollars in Nigeria, but not in CBN.
Yeah, there's dollars outside of the
but not in CBN. Gotcha.
So people are holding on to money. There's no velocity. That's one of the biggest problems we have. If you want to talk about India or how we are, I give a very simple example. You have 2 buildings. The father and the son are in both buildings. You pay a road of God, 100 naira in one building, 200 naira in the other building. In the first building, the father has some value to his son, the son has some value to him. Even though you pay 100 naira, the father's like, you'll find a pricing mechanism, and that 100 naira will be going into themselves and their services themselves, right? In the other room, the son is completely useless to the father, and the father has to feed him, and the father uses all his needs himself. Which of the rooms is far better? It's the first room, even though they have the total sum in their economy is the same. The first room is far better. That's why the velocity of money is more important than the size of the GDP.
Yeah.
That's one of the problems that we have in Nigeria.
Yeah, I got you. And just to be very, very clear, right? What I'm saying is that in the end, if there's no supply of dollars to the market, guys, whatever you're seeing in the market is just filtering. There has to be supply for it to be sustained. If there's no supply, whatever you're looking at is a movie. Let me get some copy here, right? Let me get, Connoisseur, you put your hand up. Are you Deji? Are you sorry?
Sorry, I'll just say one thing.
Sure, go ahead.
Just one point. And I'm not really talking about it. I knew that the thing should prevent finance from people from being able to buy to credit finance, right?
Yeah.
And buy dollar.
Mm.
I know that I did not see any release from CBN saying we have reversed that policy, but I know that as of now, as me and you are speaking, you can credit finance directly from your bank. I noticed this last week, a few days ago.
And I also noticed that they create Binance created in Naira pair or whatever.
Exactly. So what that means is there is another outlet to get money. I don't know what the regulatory scope or how they are monitoring.
So it's two ways now. So so that means money can come in and go out.
Yeah, it can come in and go out, but we know that overall there is more money going out from Nigeria than there is coming.
No, but this is critical now. If money can come in, that's why dollar is falling.
Yeah, but if there is more money going out, it means that the demand for dollar is high.
Well, we're in Christmas. So what I'm saying is that yes, there's always a demand, but if money can come in, all those boys from Atlanta, from Malaysia will send money in. Their P2P volume has not gone down. P2P is very, very strong. So if they can bring money in from P2P to Nigerian banks, that's why dollar is crashing. Not exchange to America. That's what's happening. If we take this point now, if P2P can go to Nigerian banks, that's why dollar is crashing, because now the P2P volumes are coming into the Nigerian banks. Abi? That's what it means now. Yeah.
I use money as well.
Uh-huh.
The money they has of it, it doesn't get.
No, but what I mean bank, it stays with you, Abi. It stays with you. It stays with you, right?
The money stays with.
That's what I'm saying. So you can take it to the bank. You can take it to an aboki and sell. Yeah. Before you could not. Before there was no connection between you and the Nigerian banking institutes. Nigerian bank, CBN says decouple. Now we are hearing that that couple is back on. So can you credit your Nigerian bank from your Binance? Can you do that again?
No, what we usually get is that whenever we get from finance, we just communicate this like this. So
Don't you digest?
Does your friend? Does your friend? So Ike want figure out that Binance has created a Nigerian pair. So what I'm figuring out is that can in Nigeria now, if I do dollar to Naira Binance, what do I do with it? Binance? Can I take it to my BT Bank? What can I do with it?
You must take it to
Mm-hmm.
that's the way to Nigeria.
I can't take it. I can send it to Ike now, and Ike will give me Naira.
Yeah. Ultimately, your bank will eventually hold it if you're going to spend it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, good point. Okay, Ayo.
Yes, for the
Hey, man, hang in there. My video again. Just hang in there. Ayo, Lori, how you doing, sir? You got the floor.
How are you?
I'm very well, sir.
I bet I wanted to listen earlier, but now that I found myself here, I think it's important as well that I contribute to the sharing the conversation.
Go ahead, sir.
Yeah, early in the year, with Q1 2022, we got info that we had in essence of $5 billion coming in form of the African militants for that quarter. It's on the signals. Also, there are indications that that number might have improved in Q2. And then, of course, in Q3. Aside from that, it is also important that I send to my to the information I want to share. When we said, or what we saw earlier, which is the drop in value of the naira.
Go ahead, sir. Hello? Can anyone hear him? I can't hear him. You
I
can,
can't hear you either.
oh man, we lost you. You are going somewhere with that. We can't hear you. If you can just do a hands up and I'll add you real quick. Kelvin, you got the floor, sir.
Hello, hi.
I'm very well.
How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, sir.
I came up because of Jack of all trades. So,
I was looking, I came here because of you, Kelvin.
Kelvin, you were in is it AIT or so talking about this? Okay. What did you find out? What can you share with us, sir?
well, I can tell you that it's not been confirmed because CBN, so there was a 1 billion information by CBN
When was this, sir?
in the last 14 hours, which is the reason why you
Boom.
basically just
Boom, 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 boom.
So, at the end of the day, I'm still not optimistic about the requirement because 4 major sources of effects for CBN to maintain stability diaspora remittances, FDIs, energy receipts, oil receipts. Oil receipts
It's gone.
are out because of the directive that purchase for subsidy, which is scam, by the way. Energy receipts are out also because companies don't trade their investments in Nigeria because of 5 different official parallel markets. Nobody's going to pay 65 naira, 400 naira, right? You know, FDI is out also because institutional investors are complaining
Nobody's
that they start with taxes that
True.
So the only viable source of effect, like, right now, the $10 billion repatriation of A, of Q, from N. And the reason also why the forwards market and affects is not working is the market makers that are supposed to be counterparts to these players, they can't find forward call. So they are like, look, we're going to give our exit to the auction. We should be able to tell where to touch the market. So they're not going to do it. So if you go to the FX market, so this market, I say you want to buy for 5 or 10 minutes, fluctuation, you won't find counterparty.
I'm looking at the rates. They said CBN is saying that if you want to buy for 4 years, you pay 618 naira for 4 years.
Even at that, at certain volumes, you find a counterparty.
Gotcha.
So this is the problem. This is the problem. And if you go back to, if you go back to 10 years, 2012, for example, when this exchange rate was still under 160, and yeah, the policy of the cost of storage around which will campaign, the spread and the big cost spread was between 0.1 naira most. Today, that big cost spread is over 400 naira.
What?
How do you like?
Did you say 400 naira? Okay. Gotcha.
The real exchange rate and the exchange rate that has every other thing.
Sure.
So how can you have a market and you don't have a forward guidance? The old essence of markets is that they're forward guidance. If you're able to tell what will happen in 2 years, that's how we plan.
Yeah.
How can you have a market where if I can't tell what
Okay, Calvin, give me a second to explain what you're saying. Just give me a second, just so folks can catch up. So in Nigeria, right, we have what's called a forward market. What that means is this: if I am bringing in dollars from America, let's say I'm an investor and I want to buy Nigerian cassava, I can go to the Central Bank of Nigeria and tell the Central Bank of Nigeria, I want to bring in $1 million, but I want to take my $1 million out in 3 years' time. And the Central Bank of Nigeria will give you a contract saying, if you come back to us in 3 years' time, we will sell you dollars at this price. So if you go to this, if you Google FMDQ, yeah, you can find the Nigerian forward rate. I'm going to actually put on the Twitter. I'll put on Twitter space now. That's where you can price how much you can buy dollars 3 years from today. So what Kelvin is saying is that even if you go and you see those rates in the market, if you try to buy them, you don't find a counterparty that can sell dollars to you. Kelvin, just go ahead.
Yes. So at the end of the day, Carlo, this thing boils down to fundamentals. Yes, if you have favorite mechanism and it's not working because the difference between your official and parallel market is so wide that even at some point gone above the difference between the official market and parallel market is above the price of the official. Yes, people can compare. So what's the solution? The solution is for you to float it. If you want to go for what you're going to do, not it. If you're going to automatically increase your government revenue, the GDP ratio, automatically, because the government will earn more money from any revenue. Yes, that's number one. Number two, what you're going to do is you're going to tell the social investors and market players are bringing their STIs, register with total STIs, and you will have a forward guidance on how they can go. So, for example, if you talk about Saudi is going to invest $5 million in tech people, and they are bringing their money into that, you're going to force them to register with total 437 or 441, and then they can put a graph and tell them where the rate will be in 5 years when they want to make profit out, or when they want to take out from that graph. Because of that graph, they can. So the risk of external risk of evaluation and crisis inflation is higher than internal risk of profit.
But Kevin, just to be clear, are you saying that we should unify the rates and float, or do you just want to see just one, maybe the import window floated? Which would you go for?
Because the way to really is to use the rate because the costs are coming. It's very difficult to and so what if it gets to the today? It's so much. So why don't you remove the guardrails and float?
Wow, Ikem, I agree with you, but you know,
Yes,
I hear you. Ikem. I'm just talking devil's advocate for the SME boys, right? SME guy in Ohabia wants to do cassava. How does he afford dollar at 1,000 naira?
So, Carlo, I think that if the rate of the dollar is going to go up, because of what I said earlier about the four major subsidy effects. Right now, out of the four, only one of them are functioning. And they're going to find out income strength in the next we have 8 weeks, 8 to 12 weeks. That's going to be $10 billion of outflows of Ukraine. And then Nigeria's release at 6 million barrels of and make some support. Because Nigeria doesn't use more than 30 million. That's yes. So when you have when you converge rates by floating, you're going to activate these other resources like which are your NXT proceeds, your FDIs, CCIs, and your DMS subsidies. You're going to start getting all that services from NFBC paid into the CPN account. You're going to have and that convergence, that demand and supply will match.
So Kevin, what you're saying, Kevin, is this. Kevin, I want to follow you. What you're saying is this, right? When Nigeria floats the exchange rate, which means that the central bank will no longer determine the exchange of the naira to the dollar. That what will happen is that remittances will increase. The revenues from Dangote will also increase. This will then mean that there will not be 1,000 to $1, but it will actually come down because supply will force the exchange rate down. Is that what you're saying?
Exactly. If supply and demand, yes, so I'm going to go back into the code and explain the rule of simply calculates your level, the time it takes compounding. And then rule of two that calculates calculate the level of inflation. So you basically like divide 72 by
The interest rate.
your interest rate. And then you see that whenever inflation goes up, the electricity comes and then jacks up the interest rate to be able to align inflation with interest rate. And you see that there is a strong correlation in that graph between the rule of supply and inflation and interest. Yes, you know very well that the higher your inflation goes up, the shorter it takes for the inflation rate to go compress to 100%.
Say it again. Say it again so I can say it again.
So you have 69 and 72.
Uh-huh.
69 calculates interest. Time it takes for the this to double.
Okay.
72 calculates inflation. The time it takes for inflation. Currently, it takes 30 years, 4 months for inflation to double by 100%.
Okay.
At current inflation level that we have, right?
Yeah.
72 by 21.77 the current inflation rate. Yes, and you know very well as inflation is climbing, the FPC comes and raises the interest rate to be able to find that inflation interest rate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go ahead. Kevin, go ahead. We lose Kevin again.
Yeah, I think we lost.
Oh man. I was going to make him. So he's essentially saying that if the exchange rate falls, that the rate of inflation also falls.
Macros. So
Okay.
this comes back to the issue of monetary policy and fiscal policy on how macroeconomic policy affects your exchange.
Kevin, we lost you a bit there, but let me just. I think what you're trying to say is that if the exchange rate comes down, that it will affect the inflation rate as well. To also push it down as well.
It will affect the inflation rate. The reason is because 70% of your inflation is coming from the price of the energy. Look at all the effects that goes down to diesel. All the effects that JP wants over 939. Look at all the effects that goes out in both PX. If you do back integration for these things and using in Nigeria, all that effects stops going.
True.
So the higher the more the impacts on your exchange rate. Sorry, the more demand for the things that you're bringing into Nigeria, the more it impacts and drives on the exchange rate. Because what you have, and you don't have enough supply to demand for things in Nigeria.
True.
And then you have so much of this price of products into Nigeria, and then it affects your inflation. Because if, for example, I was something goes at 400 and all of a sudden something goes at 800, I'm pricing the cost of importation to my selling price, and that's going to affect the condition of inflation in Nigeria.
I hear you. So I mean, it's coming back to the exchange rate. That if we can get the exchange rate to talk, right, with the fiscal side. Let's say we have our ports working. Let's say we have refineries working. Then the exchange rate comes down. Then that drives inflation comes down. Then it becomes a vicious circle where we say, okay, rates are coming down, inflation goes down, inflation going down, bringing exchange rates down lower. That also takes inflation lower. So it's self-fulfilling, it keeps on going on and on.
It's like a spider. It's like a spider. It's so interesting. It's like a spider. Everything is connected.
Oh. I got you. Kevin, hang in there. Let's get Oluwatosin coming here. Kevin, hang in there. You and all trader, hang in there. Oluwatosin, go to the floor, sir. Oluwatosin Akinbolumo. How you doing, sir? Go ahead.
You're correct, Carlo. Good evening.
Great. How you doing? Good day, sir.
I'm good. Yes, I'm very brief. I'm going to ask a question. Early in the month, sometimes around November 2, 3, Nigeria, Lagos to Edinburgh, Lagos to Glasgow, flight around 293, 295 South. I was pretty sure again, and then I tried to check it again 2 days ago, and I was seeing that over 600 on Qatar Airways. my question is, does the black market affect price or airfare?
No,
Because
I hear what you're doing. Essentially, you are saying if the airlines are maybe basing their ticket sales on black market or not. What's going on is that, like Kevin has also highlighted it, the airlines are factoring in, are building to their cost of the ticket the fact that they cannot get their money out of Nigeria. If you pay for a ticket in Glasgow or in London or online, not Nigeria, and you pay, because they're going to get their money instantly, then they don't factor in the cost of interest on that money that Nigeria is owing them. That's what I think is going on. If you pay in Nigeria, they are not going to get their funds the next maybe year or so. The money that they owe to them, just pay them 50% a few months ago, right? They are still owing them about 50% and they're still flying. I saw every single more flights. So that's what the problem is. If you owe me, I charge you interest. How is that interest calculated? I increase the cost of what you're paying. So instead of you paying 100 naira for gala, I will actually pay 200 naira for gala, and I'll say 100 naira is the cost of interest that I'm paying to the bank. That's what's going on.
all right, now Carlo, now what I'm saying is, it's happening between for me, it's the difference between the 2 or a week and a half or so. I'm talking about November 3rd and today.
Mhm.
So I was saying that affected the space of about 7-8 days.
Yes, because what's the cost of look at where did they get their dollars from? Those airlines. Where did they get their dollars from? They were paid. The CBN governor went to America. I saw him saying he had settled 50% and I was going to settle more. How do they fund diesel? They buy forward diesel, right? So the interest rates are low and they buy forward diesel or forward aviation fuel. They pay lower. Interests are going up now, so they're going to pay more. So they have to come up to Nigeria and say, well, we're paying more. You haven't paid us. You have to pay us more. They will increase that internally built-in interest cost to Nigerian buyers. This only if you buy in Nigeria, remember. If you buy in Ghana, you don't pay this.
Rest, thank you.
Abi? Kevin, am I saying the right same thing?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, it's the cost of not paying your debt. If your government does not pay its debt on time, you pay. That's really what's going on with the airlines. Chief Agbo Chinonso, how are you doing, sir? Mr. Agbo, how are you doing? Go ahead, sir. You've got the floor.
Just to address what Kelvin was saying earlier, I think for me, it boils down to demand and supply. So if we like he was proposing,
Agbo, you've gone off. I can't really hear you. And if you can hear me, please keep a hand up and I'll just add you back. But I really can't hear you on what you're saying. Yeah. Yale Chuck, you've got the floor, sir. Oh, you just dropped off. Gotcha. Let me see if I can add you back real quick. Agbo, if you can hear me, put a hands up when you're back and I'll add you in. Yoris Abel, you've got the floor, sir. Hi, how you doing?
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm very well, sir. Go ahead. Yes, I can. Please go ahead with your question, sir.
So, my client, am I going to put in the exchange rate on the market or just
Good question. So he's asking if you want to export cashew nuts, should you quote him the dollar exchange rate for the CBN or for the parallel market? I would advise you, sir, to quote the parallel market. Why? Because that's the real market-driven interest rate. That's also the rate that you can have what we call the replacement cost built in. If you quote at 435 or 448, which is the official rate, you might not get dollars at that rate. So quoting more, if he pays and CBN says you can remit 448 and you have a spread right there. So it's your advantage to quote the black market rate if you would pay that.
All right, thank you, sir.
You are very go for it.
I think a solution for interest rates. So I want to ask what's going on now?
Yeah, the central bank has been increasing interest rates. We call it in Nigeria, we call it the monetary policy rate. They've increased that from 13 to 14 to now 15 to fight inflation. But you see, the problem is that where the financial sector in Nigeria is not as connected as you have in America. When rates are increased in America, it affects everybody because everyone has a bank account. Well, I mean, everyone, a lot of people have bank accounts, have loans, have mortgages. So there's a direct correlation between how much you can have in the economy, the cost of that fund, and the Fed rate. Not so much in Nigeria. There's a lot of transactions that happen outside the banks. Less than 5% of Nigerians have ever got a bank account. So when Central Bank of Nigeria increases interest rate, it has no effect outside Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, and all those cities. That's the problem the Central Bank is having. That they cannot control money supply by simply monetary policies. That's what's going on. Does that answer your question? Super. Thanks so much, sir. Gotcha. All right, Tomiwa, hi, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm doing fine. It's been very educating discussion.
Thank you.
I think it's an amazing one. I also want to say something that will be funny for that last question. I want to say that as a rule for me, if somebody's speaking dollars and my cost is in naira, I'm probably going to using the CBN because then I can make more money.
Sure.
But if I'm the one paying in dollars, then we're going to use the normal price.
I mean, I agree with you, bro. I agree with you completely. You have to, same way. If you run a business, you want to make sure that you are collecting your cash immediately, but you are paying on LP. That's the same thing. So it's good advice. You don't release cash from your pocket. Yeah.
Yeah, and then one of the things that I just wanted to say is that because I've been working for an organization where we pay expatriates, we create a lot of expatriates for a lot of companies, and it's really a huge headache on. So it's not only individuals suffering from all of these forex imbalances. Even Nigerian companies are suffering a whole lot from all of forex imbalances. So what we used to do sometimes in our contracts is to have like an open thing whereby the private market is what the day is what you use to invoice the client, and then you get paid. But what will happen is by the time you get paid, things might have shifted up. But these are risks in those kind of businesses. I don't have finance part for ways of mitigating. That's why to that point. That's why I raised up my hand.
Yeah, good call, because people always ask, what rates do you use? I think Nigerians always say they want stability, not just the rate, they want the stability of the exchange rate is more important to them. If I know it's 1,000 naira or 500 or 100, but let me know what it will be like this thing. Let me know what it will be for 4, 5, 10, 15 years. So if I'm making an investment, I can price it appropriately. Imagine in Nigeria, if you went to import cars from Japan and your bank quoted you 300 naira to dollar. That was this year. This year, dollar was about 400 this year, right? Now it's almost 8. So how do you sell those cars? I mean, already you've lost money. So how do the banks hedge? If the banks can't buy forward, how do they hedge? I saw Fidelity Bank paid off its FX euro bond. How do you hedge? If you take in dollars and you lend out to a Nigerian manufacturer, the guy of no fault of his invests locally in an alcohol plant like Kevin is doing in Nigeria, then dollar goes to 800. What do you do? You've taken a loan at 400, now you have to pay back at 800. Just on the exchange differential, not profit, not cost. Then how can entrepreneurs, you see one, those guys are going through they're going through some serious stuff in Nigeria. That's what I'll say.
Yeah, you just painted a picture of one thing that I'm telling you. We had about 10 cars that came from Canada about 5 months. They're practically on selling for them. Like, it's expatriate.
Wow. So what are you guys going to do?
Like, it's a huge headache, really. So, I have two questions after all of this. Because for the past few weeks, I've been thinking, okay, what's the solution? And I don't think I'm completed in Nigeria because I'm in Nigeria, but I also want to ask two questions. If banks had BDC license, do you think it's going to help?
There's no difference, bro.
Second one would be,
Go ahead.
why are banks not licenses?
Well, there's no difference. If you have BDC or don't have BDC, there's no difference. The issue is, where do you get your dollars? If I send money, Emeka in Houston sends money to Mama Emeka in Nigeria. It doesn't matter how Mama Emeka gets it, but will she get it into the economy? And will it go to the central bank as the issue? I can put the dollars in my pocket and fly with it and give to Mama Emeka. I can do that, right? And Mama Emeka can take that dollars from my hand, change it into dollars with their bookie, and pay Naira into a bank account. That also happens. What CBN wants and what every nation wants is that you do it officially. You send the money from your Bank of America directly to GT Bank. Mama Emeka gets it. So it doesn't even matter what we call it, BDC, banks. It's the dollars hitting the central bank's foreign reserves. Because if it is, the central bank can defend the Naira, it can fund imports. So right now, go to P2P. P2P's volumes are nearly as high or higher than the import-export volume. Kevin, is that correct? Do you have any idea? Kevin or do you guys have any idea of that?
No, I don't think it's better yet, but I think it's quite high because for the past 1 year, because I've not sent back on that P2P.
Okay.
So it's quite high. Yeah.
And before P2P,
it's difficult to track.
Yeah, and before P2P, how are you sending money to Nigeria? Before P2P?
We just use the app, just trying to invest it on the app.
And those apps, as you know, those apps were linked to Nigerian banks, right? So you transfer your money, the apps give you Naira here, but the apps hold the dollars there and all that. So what I'm trying to say is this, right? It doesn't matter whether the banks have BDC or don't have BDC. Nigeria needs dollars officially to go to the Central Bank of Nigeria. That's how you pay. Banks don't pay imports. Central banks pay for imports. If you order an Arsenal jersey today and you pay that website from Lagos on your phone, it is actually the Central Bank of Nigeria that will credit the UK bank to credit that store in the UK, who will then sell the jersey to you. You don't pay directly. That's why when you freeze central bank's assets, you can't do anything. It doesn't matter if you have the money in Nigeria. If the central bank cannot pay, you haven't paid it. That makes sense to you, sir?
Yeah, absolutely.
Great.
Yeah, one of the things that I'm going to point out is because I'm a digital marketer, I also build websites. Like just today, because I don't have a lot of faith in the local hosting company here, I've gone through a lot of them. So I use Bluehost, which is high. As of today, I saw that they've doubled their price, which I can practically cannot cope with any longer. It used to be better when we pay with our cards, and the bank does the conversion. Yeah. Now you cannot do that. You have to buy from their bookie, take to your dollar account, get a dollar card, and you pay charges all the way.
Question for you, right? Question for you. If you could get the dollars, right, but you pay 10 Naira extra for just the same dollars, the same process but easy on your phone, but instead of paying, what rate do you pay on your phone right now? What rate on your phone do you pay? You're going to leave? What rate do you use? The black market?
So the last time, although cheaper last time was not working, but the last time I used cheaper, it was 800.
So the black market rate really?
Oh, the black market rate. I think it's about, I'm not bought recently.
No, what I'm saying. Yeah. So cheaper was selling to you at the black market rate.
Yes.
So why are they leaving? They're making their money. Why are they leaving?
No, I think there's a CBN regulation that affects all of them. It's not really cheaper. It's of NG.
Oh, okay. The CBN said that they should all pay their own dollars, i.e. they should bring their dollars from America here. We can't give you CBN dollars. They want CBN wanted to carry the dollars from America vehicles are paid. Okay. All right, so well, thanks, man. Chike, what's on your mind?
Yeah, hello, good evening all.
How you doing?
Good. Thank you so much for the platform.
Very
So
well.
I would like to point something out. According to what Tomiwa and the last guy talked about, when you have a contract or a project which you would have to execute using dollars, maybe you need to buy imports goods from outside the country in order to execute that project. I think it's best that the exchange rate, about where the exchange rate is in the contract, is kind of open, because I have a feeling that he won a contract with the federal government. It was during Jonathan's speech, and as at then, the exchange rate was not more than 200 naira to the dollar. Till now, he's not yet able to project, and then he's having to battle with getting a concession from the central bank through the ministry that is executing the project for, and then going back and forth because the ministry is saying that these are two different governments. So, if possible, I would advise anyone that has projects, depending on the time frame, to request for kind of open check as regards the exchange rate. And then as regards the demand for dollar, I would say that the main problem is that there's a lot of pressure on the dollar. One, people schooling outside who can't pay their from A because parents are not really coming forth with these things. Then people are importing goods into the country and also have the source for dollars in the black market. And then people have inflows one way to let go of the inflows. So what they do most likely is they take loans. There are loan offices from banks where you take loan against your dollar balance. So you don't touch your dollar. What they just do is they calculate whatever amount of dollar you have and give you the loan in naira. So the dollar is being ordered. There's a lot of demand for this dollar. So I guess that's also a reason why the dollar to naira rate is very high. Thank you.
Thank you. I was really interested in when you said, just to make sure people understand what you're saying. You're saying if you have a contract with a foreign guy and you pay them in dollars, you should try to make sure you don't put a fixed amount in the contract, but you should sort of language it to say we'll pay you based on prevailing rates plus this or plus that. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, yes.
Okay, all right. Just so people follow you. Okay, thank you so much, Chiki. Appreciate that. Fola Ola, sorry if I got the name wrong. Hi, Fola, go ahead. You got the floor. Hello, Miss. I do apologize. Yes, I can, but if you could speak up your bit distance, I would appreciate that. Go ahead. I can hear you. I'll just translate. Go ahead. Oh, gotcha. Gotcha. All right, Kevin is here, so Kevin I'll ask him to re-explain, but this time you make it slower and explain more detail. What I mean is, if you own a company, right? If you own a company, if people owe you, you collect your money immediately. You don't offer credit. You don't offer anyone credit. If you want to offer credit, you tell me that you pay more or you buy more, things like that. But don't offer credit, especially if you're an SME. But when when you want to buy from people, give them a local purchase order, which will say, hey, I'll pay you in 90 days. So if you own a restaurant, you tell if you can, tell the woman supplying you rice. I'm sorry, guys, it's for me. Tell the woman supplying you rice. If you supply me rice, I'll pay you 90 days or 60 days, right? So you can take the rice, you can trade, right? But if you are, or if someone is owing you, you want to make sure you collect your cash immediately. Companies, SMEs die because they have no cash, not because they have bad decision, bad staff, or money. Once you have no cash, you die. So if you're an SME, you want to watch the cash very, very critically. LP just means you give somebody a contract that's needed. You supply after 90 days or 60 days, I pay you. If you supply Shell, if you supply all these big tech companies in Lagos, they don't pay you cash the same day. Most big companies don't pay you cash. They would always tell you supply, after the delivery, this, that. So you should behave like those big companies. Don't let cash be your balance sheet or your bank account. Keep it very, very tight. Help you use other people's money, fund your business, and get at the very, very last result. Right? Kevin, you also know these four methods you talked about how cash comes in, FDR, SDE, remittances. Just take it again, this time maybe it's over and it's shorter, just say 1, 2, 3, 4, and also give the contact so he gets
But I'll try to look at the sources of complaints. And the CBN of model of based on 10 years, which is on a daily basis, cross plus of million assets spread. That was the assumption. We're not there anymore. And what were the sources of effect? And number one, oil receipts. Number two, export proceeds from company export. And bringing the dollars to originating banks. Number three, FDIs. Investors non-speculative foreign investment. This called asset. And then you had the diaspora finances. Now, the dynamics of change, and the reason why the dynamics of change is because, number one, and this is something that is not being talked about because the government had hoped that a lot of people don't understand how this thing works. In fact, even as soon as this, like 2 months, the FLS borrowed government 749 billion ways and means lending. So, for context, ways and means lending is like balances that the CBN to federal as a lender not a lender of first percent, a lender of last percent. But imagine you have and the bank decides to give you overdraft. So you know what the salary is you want to pay something very quickly that you don't have 15 million. You give an overdraft for 3 months, for example. For rate the interest. The overdraft is supposed to last a particular period and the short-term bank has given it. So that's going to pay CBN that states that if CBN decides to be federal government, it should not exceed 5% of the new revenues for the previous account. For the previous accounting year 2020, the new revenues stands as $150 million. Guess how much that window are giving the federal government?
Say what?
48 billion.
Wow.
The difference is 47. Now, that continues when you print eventually federal government because the CBN has the power to do that. It devalues your currency. If it feels so much currency that you have, especially in the reserves, what happens is that inflation, because you have so many machines that you have equal production output, and happens that you have to practice, which is a reason that, when I did a chapter a few weeks ago, I the currency over the last 3 years. So what the method is doing is attempt to correct so many ways to the federal government that double the amount of currency and cause the double of inflation. And then as inflation goes up, I was explaining that you have a rule of 7, rule of 6, rule of 7 to basically calculate the time to take for inflation to double. And then rule of 6 now time to take for investment come. They go parallel. So as inflation goes up, the FPC rate, the MPR rate are aligned so that you have a get it. So what happens basically as inflation goes up, the time it takes for inflation to go up, which is part of it, and for your currency to set up inflation. So you know that over the last 10 years, that time now 10 years, go down to 7 years, now it's 7 years. Take a short time for inflation to go, your currency is 100% of the value. That's correct. You have to focus on the excessive valuation of ways and means window that you have to. Number 2, you have to put monetary sharp that as part of the tasks, FDIs, energy, and oil. Right now, in fact, oil is out by the way. The institutional flow of has been wiped out. This they are not going to give the efficient market, but the capital market is energy is also they are ready because companies are saying that one opportunities for us to bring back dollars into Nigeria for foreign what I want to do for
Kevin, I'm counting 3: FDI, remittances, NXP. What's the fourth? I want to make sure I answer the gentleman. So essentially, FDI, if Nestle brings in money to a new factory, that's FDI. They bring in their dollars, they build their factory. That's FDI. Remittances, Emeka is sending money to my Emeka. That's 25 billion. That is true. I think that's Nigeria's largest FX source after competing with crude oil. So Nigeria exports crude oil and Nigeria. And you have the NXP. NXP is that what the stock exchange, the FPR.
Companies exporting and paying here. Just in fact, they say that if they see your dollars and
that's just exports, right? So can you say trade flows? Then we can say that trade flows can be non-oil and oil trade flows. So to the gentleman asking, we have trade flows exporting crude oil, exporting cashew nuts, that's 1 and 2. And we have remittances, Nigeria sending money home to Nigeria. Right now, I saw a candidate called it the welfare remittances, welfare, but nothing has really come big like that. So of course, we have FDIs, foreign direct investments. When Nestle is building up factory, state or SAB is building factory, that's FDIs. So Kevin, that's really what you're talking about. Excellent. Kevin, thanks a lot. Thanks for looking. You're welcome. Chama, you got the floor. How you doing?
Hello, hi, Carlo. Thank you so much for this time.
You're very welcome.
So, one of my questions was pretty much about why they're printing so actually that. So that can be clear. I guess just trying to
Did the amount shock you? Kevin says it's about $48 billion. Did it shock you?
Yes, like why I told you. First of all, my question, I would say, why do they do the scheme of redesigning the naira before now? If that would help to bring in people into the national, like, just what I'm saying, like, why do they to really make that would have helped them before they said the naira earlier on?
Yeah,
too late, like, you know.
Yeah, I mean, if you ask me the reason, I'll tell you it's because the central bank was on, we say, Congress for 2 years while the central bank governor ran for president. He took many decisions that were not country policy based, independent country policy based. For instance, raising interest rates. When inflation was still about 15, 14%, he should have raised rates there and probably done this then, like you're saying. It could have had an effect, right? He didn't running for the office. Then he has been printing money in all these amounts of cash. I quote in naira 20 trillion. Kevin is quoting in dollars 48 billion. 20 trillion can build refineries. 48 billion can build refineries. So why do we print money and build refineries? I don't know. Okay, if you go to the DMO, the Democratic Office website, you can see exactly where our borrowing has been from, where we have borrowed it, where we have used from. I did the study. 13%, the number one and number two are what we call, number one is what we call budget support, 13%. Number two is what we call economic, 13%. So 13 plus 13 is 26%. 26% goes to budget support and economic. I don't know what that is. Well, 26% of the borrowing Nigeria has gone to economic in quotes and budget support. What's that? So, Choma, looking at them, that's really the answer, right? When you print money, they are trying to stop the government from borrowing. So the central bank is trying to help the federal government by not borrowing, by printing money. It shouldn't do that because it's supposed to be independent. What the central bank should have done is to raise interest rates to stop the federal government from borrowing. You know that from 2014, right? 2014, when Buhari took over, his recurrent expenses have gone up, but his revenues have come down. What means all they've done is that revenues went down, but they made sure they borrowed money to pay salaries, pay pension and allowances. It's a CBN record of Putin. The recurrent expenditure did not go down, it went up. We've gone through two recessions. We've gone through. Choma, I can hear you very well. So that's what's going on, Choma. Choma, if you can't hear me, go out and come back in again. Does that work for you? All right. Hey, John.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, go ahead. John, right ahead, sir. John, hold on a bit. Yeah. John, hold on a bit. Yeah.
And that's it. It's economic philosophy. Borrowing is not it is borrowing essentially from the public. That's why the public debts and whatnot, right? However, what's important is what's the debt. I'm just say that's in isolation, right? So when you're talking about inflation, see as everybody more or less reports the dollar, it's important for the public to realize to always look back at what is the US doing, what is their public debt, and is inflation reflecting or relating, because you're analyzing economies, you're analyzing a relative position. Inflation is not something that we can do without. It's impossible to have an economy without inflation. Basically, the same is to the economy. When you put things in, it's not everything that comes out. There are some that stays in the process in the content of inflation, what stays within the economy. And our money, the money that we call money, right? The currency, is not really the concept of money and cryptocurrency is something that a lot of people do not understand. Before I get into Iraq, what I'm simply saying is the debt itself, CBN borrowing money, that's not exactly the problem. The problem is who is the money used for. No one borrows money in the US, like developed countries.
Excellent.
The money. Jack of all trades. I'm sorry, but that's the CBN borrowing. The reason why there's a problem is because when you use institution, you can imagine. I'll give you an example. And I'm sorry when I go around, I need to extrapolate to give you context. Calculate your total by your total needed assets, for example. When you look at tier 1 bank, when you divide that, you have bank estimate, you can access that. 75% for me. Okay. Then it comes to points. The point is that there are CBN Act, OFIA, guys, things are supposed to be done. When you violate CBN Act, then the reason why Section 2 is there, that reason is because if you violate that and giving federal more than 5% of the council, is your because and inflation. Now inflation is not fast. But why is that? Is when, for example, time it takes for purchasing power represent of value. 30 years from. How can you represent in 30 years from?
Okay. Kevin, but I mean, Jack of all trades is that what we are borrowing to spend on is really a big problem. It doesn't support him because look at what is 26% of the borrowing. The incentive has got to economic and budget support. We all know what that means, salaries. So we are borrowing not just 1 naira, we're borrowing billions. And now we can't even service the debt with the total income that Nigeria is making. We've never had this before. At least we borrowed to pay salaries that we pay back. Now, according to Minister of Finance, we can't even service the debt that we borrowed on. That's big.
Yes. Into the conversation.
No, it's fine. It's fine. Totally.
Yeah. What is it? Okay. And this is that controls my life. I'm managing this perception. That suspended. There is a huge loan. And that's not so if everybody is moving and say, oh, okay. So you printed on this one, give to adopt it, and then sell it you can pay back. And 11 of that result that you decide to collect. Let money to be all that. You're not going to recover. You have to recover. And you have to recover. That's a systemic risk the banking sector. And then you progressively. Sorry, that's so very well. And that affects the company because I mean, just experience it to be affect current local current. Now, the foundation of
I think we're all right. I promise that we have a big, huge debt. Let's get John in here. John, what's up? Sorry for keeping you back here. John Appleseed.
Hi, these fixes, they have become a very useful source of the economic
knowledge for me, and I'm very good. I have a question. So, so you could say, I have come to realize that government, CBN, has been making policies, spends a lot of money defending the even when that would favor exploitation and help earn additional forex to help stabilize the currency. It feels so far like I've been hearing of the bad things CBNs been doing. And I also think that any valid motivation for which the CBN has really used to influence the currency, or at least float certain portion of the recommended. Is there a reason why we have to spend everything we have in our reserves in order to defend the naira? Or is this just some eco-waste thing just to say one naira is worth $1? And it's necessary that it does not really favor activity. So I don't know what's the motivation. I wonder if you have any absolutely.
I think it's both things, both pride and the desire to keep inflation low. Because look at this, PMS is important, and PMS is the largest import in Nigeria, is the largest expense of the government, the federation. It's the largest import. So if they keep the dollar at 4 to 4, they are able to reduce that cost. That's the monetary and the theoretical, the money part of it. The other part is that it's just pride. I saw Buhari. He went to the Brigade of Guards. Abuja. I've been this story many times from 2006. Buhari went to the Brigade of Guards in Abuja. The Brigade of Guards are the elite Nigerian army soldiers that are designed to protect whoever the presidency. Buhari went there and he told the Brigade of Guards that when he was president in 1983, a coup was launched against him because he devalued the naira and what else he did fail subsidy. So imagine if you're the CBN governor and you hear the president tell the Brigade of Guards that he used the exchange rate of the currency, right, as a national security issue, not a monetary issue. What would you do? Very, very careful. Be very, very careful. That's how Buhari sees the exchange rate as something that has to be defended as national security. You can't devalue. And you also see that the central bank governor don't give any for food imports. We keep money to import PMS, we keep money to repair private jets, but no money for food. So it's a bit of pride and also a lot of want to keep the inflation down by not allowing those imports to come at price dollars. That's what I would say. Because I'm working. All right, let's get Meta so CH. CH. How you doing, sir? Go ahead.
Yeah, so I wanted to contribute to what Kelvin said the other time. Sort of these steady sources of flow with the government. I wanted to say on the flip side, you have to mention that vis-a-vis the sources of flow as well. And all the days on the capital and really realize that we're getting into a really bad place of the country. Okay, so sources of power, no one would be services if that's what. And then also would be repatriation of capital by companies that we have in Nigeria. And the government subsidizes marriage.
Yeah, well, how much is that? If you don't know the scale of preference, number one way money goes out Nigeria is fuel subsidy. Number one, really, that's it. If we cut that guy down, we're nearly there. But
how much?
If we cut fuel subsidy down, we are nearly there because it takes away all the budget. Everything goes. Everything goes. Kevin just said, all the oil revenues go to subsidy. All. If you take oil and non-oil revenues, that takes away everything. Oil and non-oil revenues go off to salaries. Let me explain what I'm saying. Oil and non-oil revenues, debt chops everything. Oil revenues alone, salaries of only civil servants chops everything. So the budget you see is really just noise. You have a budget that the largest expense item is not there. Fuel subsidy. It's not there. So what are we talking about?
If we're able to cut out
Law, that's the number $1 outflow, fuel subsidy. That's what I'm saying. The number $1 outflow in Nigeria is fuel subsidy. Number one.
Our debt deficit is going to press up to 8 billion next year.
Yes. So why do we have debt servicing? Because we are taking all the crude oil revenues to pay for subsidy. If we didn't have subsidy, we would take the crude oil revenues and pay them the principal. When Dr. Konjawala was in Nigeria, she had a sinking fund to pay the principal of issued debt bonds, not just the service, to pay down the principal. So right now, when all the crude oil we're exporting, we take the revenue and we pay for import of PMS. This customs madness is fraudulent. The custom duty has it is fraudulent. And the NNPC figures are fraudulent. I'm going to say, not me.
Okay, and probably the numbers will agree with you. So I'll probably have to agree. Another area that we're using a lot of money is if we look at the biggest and the biggest companies, that in Nigeria right now are foreign companies. So it gives us a negative NPI every year when we measure how much we get in new investments versus how much we lose to the likes of MTN,
How do we lose?
Airlines.
How do we lose? How do we lose? How do we lose?
How do we lose? Because the likes of MTN made the account of investments, probably 10, 20 years ago.
Okay.
So right now, it's not like it's bringing dollars into Nigeria every year. So it's more whatever revenue that you generate now, you're going to be repatriated. Unless we're able to do to make policies, ease of doing business, things like that.
Look at this way, right? If MTN did not come, the cost of doing business would have gone up in Nigeria. I hear you, but the way you say it, bro, I mean, what I'm trying to say is this, right? I hear what you're saying. In terms of numbers, you are correct that they're taking money out, but they're taking their investment returns out. They are towers here, they are offices here, they are startups here, they're taking what they've made because they invested. The exact same way Nigeria invests in New York. Nigeria has a tall building in New York. The rent of that building comes to Nigeria. You guys will not say Nigeria is taking rent out of US, right? Because we invest in that building in New York.
I agree with you.
No worries. I hear you. I'm just making banter,
right
see.
To have more companies and great. I am like
the way you do it, CH, you are right. You are right. The way you do it also is to make Nigeria safer and to make cost of production cheaper. Then people will come naturally. Everyone's going to Ghana. I saw the other day Twitter closed office in Ghana. Twitter had an office in Ghana, not in Nigeria. But there are more users in Nigeria than Ghana. But they went to Ghana. So I hear you, bro. Let's get J4. How you doing, sir? Mr. J4.
Hey, Carl, good evening.
I saw your conspiratorial tweet.
This is all part of what I wanted to talk about, but thank you always. You're I wanted to point out I want to believe that people cannot access the level of our national life and governance. But it's stupid. It is fact. This is not contended that our consumption of PMS is at best maybe 35 to 40% of our imports. Your commodity peers severally, even without economists, I can just as a businessman know that that's a big problem with in our effect. Why will the CBN, the federal government, the DSS, and all the agencies that are aware of this, allow such to subsist? If we can cut down imports by 60%, our PMS needs by plugging the leakages going out from our eastern borders and from the northern borders and all of that, while we can subsist. That's one. Then two, the more conspiracy theory that I talk about. I really will have ignored it, but in the years of the project, not exactly capable, you begin to give me a sense. Like I said, the change is actually lacks one operation. I found it not the possibility of such a thing, or what virtue of what is edifying such an action in investigation.
Yeah, but
Designed specifically to correct speculators, bankrupt them, and maybe take them out of the going forward.
that's what the guys here, that's why I kept them here. Both Kevin and Jack of Fortunes have said. You know, I said at the very top that there is no way Naira can fall without supply from the central bank. Everything we're reading that is the US is not true. It has to be supplied to Nigeria. Kevin is saying that there's been 1 million supply, not yet confirmed, into the market. That's why it never fell. What that tells you is that Naira's value is not still being managed, right? That next week, after that 1 billion goes to the market, it will keep on rising. And just by way of demand and supply, if you have supplied 20 trillion naira to the Nigerian economy without corresponding crude oil revenues in dollars to match up that naira, then invariably there will be a fall in the price of the naira. You don't have to be an economist to know this. It's just basic. So that's what it is. It is what it is. So I would just say diversify is the only advice I can give on social media. Diversify your earnings, your currency, your location. That's the best I can say. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Proby, you've got the floor. Oh, mention. Proby, you've got the floor, sir. We're going to drop about 30 minutes. Thanks for Kevin, Jack of all trades, all of you. Hanging here with me. We're going to hang on about 30 minutes. Jubril Ali, how are you doing, sir? Jubril Ali.
Yes, how are you?
I'm very, very well, sir. How are you doing today? What's up? I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay, I really appreciate about the utilization of the so I don't have nothing to say about it.
Super.
So I really appreciate you guys giving us knowledge. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Jibril. I thank you for listening. Sir, I do. Yeah, Proby, what's up? You want to speak or I take you off, sir? Proby, let me get show up back in here. Let me. Dolly T. Dolly Toloch. I am Dolly PP. You got a phone? I am Dolly PP. Come on, guys, you got to hook up so I can. I'm not hearing you, sir. Kevin, just a quick one. Let me just confirm. You are saying that is it already out? This 1 billion you're talking about. Where can I find it?
It's not confirmed that they don't want just because take.
Okay, so well, that is true. Then you know what's going to happen next week. That's true. You know what's going to happen. All right, Choma, you're back here. Did you want to add anything else? You were cut off last time you were speaking.
Yes, thanks. Yes, so I just wanted to find out, right? You had said that a very small percentage of monies, right? And the FX now, if it's, I imagine, it's not being, CBN is not able to track it. That's news to me because, my question is, so these accounts, explain that to me. Is it that, you open them in commercial banks, so obviously CBN sees X number of accounts, X amount of money is in there. Are they ever going to get desperate to say, I just need to understand
we don't like to talk about that because we don't want to spook anybody. But look at it this way, right? If Nigeria sells crude oil, the money goes to an account, JP Morgan. That account is called NNPC CBN. It goes to JP Morgan. Then the central bank then has that dollar in America, right? The central bank would then buy the dollars from the Federation of Nigeria and equip the Federation of Nigeria Naira. That's what you see then goes to FARC that is shared between the federal state and local government. So we're selling crude oil in dollars. Central bank buys those dollars and gives us Naira. So central bank owns the foreign reserves. That's how it pays for it, by buying the oil sales from NNPC. When I send, let's say Emeka sends me home to Mama Emeka. Mama Emeka does not want to spend that dollar. She can go to a bank in Nigeria, open up a DOM account, right? That DOM account is not part of the balance sheet of the bank because it's not legal tender. It's like safe deposit box. So she puts her dollar in the safe deposit box. The bank has it, right? She can go in there. In the past, you could withdraw, you could transfer, you could do whatever you wanted to. Now, a lot of restrictions on what you can do with that DOM account. But that DOM account is not part of the foreign reserves of Nigeria. It's assets owned by America, still in the bank in Nigeria. It's about 10 billion, 20 billion, give or take, right? But it's not part of the central bank doesn't own it. So the central bank cannot go to that money for imports. If they tried it, the economy of Nigeria would just crash, right? Because the loss of confidence, nobody wants banks anymore. That's why they don't touch it and we don't mention it because we want to even anybody to us. So the central bank would always come out first and tell you they would never ever touch the DOM account. It's not their money, it's people's personal assets. It's like taking someone's gold. If I take my gold to the bank, they're going to come tomorrow and melt the gold in and say, we have reserves. It doesn't work that way, right? Yeah, that's what's going on. So the central bank needs to get that DOM accounts to the central bank. How it can do this is what folks here, the experts are talking about. It devalues the currency. If you devalue the currency, the Naira goes from what is today about 444, even if it goes to 600. America will now say, I want to go and buy cassava in Ohafia. Let me sell my dollars from the bank. When she sells that dollars, the bank can buy it from her. Then that dollar becomes the assets of the bank, and the bank can also sell to the central bank. When you float your currency, what you can see is that not the central bank will set the rates, but the market will set the rates. So what will happen is that the central bank can intervene in the market. So you see the Bank of Japan will say, we're selling dollars, we're buying, intervening in an open market. The central bank of Japan does not set the exchange rate. But if you want to try them and say you want to do nonsense with that currency, they will kill you by buying and selling and lose your shirt. So think about George Soros. He took the Bank of England to work, £1 billion. They did the exact same thing like that. They fixed the price of their currency and tried to defend it. George Soros went there, sold the pound, kept on selling it till they were forced to devalue. That's essentially what's going on.
Okay, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You are very welcome. Hey guys, just start to wind down, guys. I'm just going to add the last speakers and then we'll just take it down. There's no more requests to speak. I'm just going to add this, guys. Iwona, Chagos, hi Chagos, good for Chagos.
Hello,
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, I'm good. Even everyone. Yeah, I always like listening to your speaks and like something of it. I think Mr. Kevin and
Big boys.
For the past 5-6 years, I'm working with an NGO that's more of into microfinance project, human capacity development in serving women and the people in the villages and the rural areas. And most of the time, the fund these people sometimes comes through grants, sometimes comes through from when I saw this topic today, let's talk about Naira exchange. I'm not looking at Naira exchange and its effect currently because now we got last year at the rate as we were last year. Now, threading we need to pay back, and it's a loan we are paying back with interest. You see, we have actually going to be able to pay back the price they got on these people.
So just to be clear,
paying back the interest.
You got the. I want you to hold on. I'll just understand. So you got, is it a loan or a grant?
Not a grant.
So okay, you got the loan in dollars and you have to pay back in dollars.
In dollars.
Yeah, that's a big problem for you. A very, very big problem. That's why we have the forward market, right? So what you guys should have done was to have hedged that exposure by buying dollars from forward markets, right? So just take it down, talk to your accountant on Monday and say you want to buy dollars in the forward market. Experts are saying that market is no longer viable because you don't have a counterparty, but still explore that. You should have done this when the money came in. So what it means that you go and you buy your forward dollar, so that way you can then pay your Naira and get back that dollar at a good price, 2, 3, 4, 5 years. Yeah, not just to 5 years. So try to speak to your bankers on Monday about if you want to buy your forward exchange rate. Does that make sense to you, sir? All right, well, hi, you got the floor. Well, I can't hear you, but try to get a forward. Talk to your bankers about how you can get a forward dollar agreement to protect your exposure. It's a bit late now, but at least try to get some done. Mr. John.
Hello.
Yeah, hi, go ahead, John.
Hello, Carlos. Thank you very much for your very insightful and delivery.
Thank you, sir.
I've benefited a lot. Fortunately for me, I run a business in Nigeria. I also have a business outside the country. The challenge has been what the last caller talked about. I have access to raising funds outside the country, about 6-7%. I can't bring it into the country. How do I pay into it? How do I take it? I have an opportunity to run things back home. I can make maybe 10, 15, 20, 30, 40%. Right? The dollar fluctuation, the greatest horror of any foreign investment in Nigeria, foreign investment in Nigeria, is this unpredictable forex market.
I hear you, John. John, and then just quickly, John.
I didn't want to get myself into trouble in the last call of yourself.
Yeah.
I just avoided those money. I think my small business I can really
Cool.
take care. My phones, whatever. Thank you very much.
Yeah, very good. And guys, very good. John, thanks a lot. I mean, if you have a dollar loan right now, right, it's a big risk. It's called exchange rate risk, right? You take a dollar loan to convert to Naira to make do business in Nigeria to try to go back. You're going to be stuck one way or the other. If you cannot buy forward, right, then don't do it for now. It's too, the risks are too much now. Perhaps wait till the new government comes in then you actually understand what the new government policy would be. And it's not going to be in February, right? So February or June, we'll know what the new government policy would be. But for now, taking a loan in Forex to change to Naira, then to pay back in Forex, I think yeah, I would say don't do. If you can't hedge that with CBN, please don't. If you can, just very, very careful. Right? Try not to do it, right? All right, super. Let's have John. Tigo, go ahead, sir. Guys, let's yeah. Tigo, good floor. That's about 30 minutes. Tigo, the good floor. Go ahead. Tigo going once. Tigo going twice. I got Mikel, Crypto Rabbi, Kelsey Bernard.
Hi.
How you doing, sir? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you very much for this speech. I used to do forex business in Alaba, Nigeria.
Interesting.
I've seen a lot of problems. But basically, I noticed that Nigeria, Argentina, many countries which were saying backing of their currency, trying to enforce strict controls, they always end up having the same problems. Always end up creating unnecessary speculation. Most there are people who are facing the of people in Nigeria don't buy because they want to, they just buy it because of speculative reasons. And most people who are holding for speculative reasons. But in a situation where you float the currency, remove all these fake patriotism, trying to convince people that doing what is not economically viable is being patriotic. Allow people to actually allow the market to flow naturally. Most of these problems you are facing, currency stability. So, in the last week, I heard someone talking about word on this Twitter was that it was actually politicians who were bringing down dollars for the election.
But how can they bring down dollars? Explain what does that mean?
I don't know, but there are a lot of people who probably have not dollars act.
Okay. No, but you're right. You're right. If the politicians bring in dollars, then dollar will fall. So you're right. You said Kevin is saying dollar will fall. But the point we are making is that dollar fall is not sustainable. It is simply an event.
I think what I don't want to say more that in particular politicians, release a lot of money of research, campaigns and all the rest.
Yeah.
So that is why, because they were trying to exchange the money and everything, don't have it.
Interesting.
Cashing on very high rates, and because liquidity to buy up and liquidity to buy up, they had to sell at the price, and it went down.
Okay.
That said and done, I think what just is to wait well because I feel they say don't argue with words, always argue with actions. People speculators are really shown the central bank and whoever is coming into government that this system is not sustainable. And most of the losses would have been cured from people doing arbitrage, doing a lot of speculation. They would have learned from it. So whoever of the three parties, hopefully, they would have to stop because they have a function.
Let's be clear. I'll name names. Bola Tinubu says he's going to spend money without a dollar peg. So I'm interested, if he wants to do that, is he going to float the naira? He has to, because if he's spending without a peg, he can't then peg the dollar, because then he would have two rates. So yeah, so that's also what I'm seeing going ahead. I talked about it when I had the space, but it would mean that, well, let's leave that alone now. But Mikel, I think you're very, very correct. If dollars is in the market, the price will go down. And also, let me just make a point here. I talked about if you have a dollar exposure. Berger is a German Nigerian company, right? They do a lot of business in Nigeria. They expatriate their profits to Germany. They have a lot of connections in Germany. They quote, so their profits are in Naira, but they quote in pounds, right? Look at what they did. What they did was that they set up a cashew nut exporting company, right? It's in Lagos. So what Berger is doing is simply this: they will do their contract in Nigeria, they will get paid naira, they will take that naira and they will buy cashew nuts and they will export to Brazil or to Vietnam, and they get their dollars. So if you have the capacity to do something like this, that's another way you can hedge your dollar exposure. If you say, well, I'm going to borrow in dollars, you have to have a way to get dollars back. So you can copy Berger if you have that skill. Or you can say, okay, is there any exporter I know that is exporting yams or cashew or pineapple? Can I fund him? So if he's doing 100 and he can do 200, and I'm getting my dollar out of Nigeria as this guy is. Is that something else you can do? We have lots of spaces here on export. If you Google Kalu Aja Nairametrics exports, I did a detailed article. They had to break it into three parts. Lots of links to the Nigerian Export Promotion Council's website. You should also go there if you do export. That's one of the best websites by any government agency in Nigeria. Those guys are doing very, very good job. Nigerian Export Promotion Council, government guys, but they are on top of it, right? If you can export, that's one way you can hedge your. Should just making that point out there. If you can't do it, don't try to do it. You can't learn exports, right? Try to either invest or partner. Don't try to say, I want to start exporting. We have done it before. You have to know. Hi, Gary. Gary, hi, how you doing, sir? Gary? Hi, how you doing, sir?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir.
All right, thank you for giving me this opportunity.
Yeah.
Well done. The question I have is for Kevin, but I think he has left.
Yeah.
I just wanted to comment on the floating that we have been advocating. Quite often, the reality as an economist believe in market mechanism, price mechanism. But what actually worries me about completely liberalizing our exchange rate is what if some kind of hedge funds or these information-based traders come up with fundamental analysis? Probably they'll just say that the naira is going to go down, and they'll just start shorting the naira, and eventually we're going to have artificial fall of the naira because the activities of the shorters.
I hear you. I hear you. I get where you're going to now. Your question has merit. In when we had the South Asian currency crisis, right? We had those boys go to South Asia and the more or less, but they could do that because that was what we call hot money. That's what we call FPI, hot money. So the South Asian countries were trying to finance their goods by issuing bonds with very, very high interest rates. Those are not foreign direct investments that were long-term capital based into the economy. It was mostly banks issuing euro bonds or currency papers that foreign investors were buying because they were paying very, very high rates, right? So you could buy it, you could arbitrage, you could short it. That's why they got to that problem because the rates were high, right? The thing in Nigeria, the way Nigeria is set up is this. Because Nigeria has a strong currency, believe it or not, guys, your currency at 500 naira to $1 is strong. Because that currency is strong, we can import easy. I went to Abuja because Abuja is a popular market on I'm sure you know it starts with an A. I don't call it, it starts with an A. They sell water from France in that supermarket. They sell Gary from India supermarket. Sparkling water, Gary. Why is Nigeria importing sparkling water? Why? For what reason? If you want to import sparkling water, use your own dollars. So I think that when you say you want to subsidize that dollar, right, you make it cheap to import. And then because it's cheap to import, you kill local guys that would have made the same water, right? So I don't also think you should float everything. I think you should have two rates. The government should sell its crude oil. That money should go to its own CPN. They can use that money for their own intervention. If they want to build a road, they want to build those better, they use that oil money. But the export-import remittances should be floated. If I want to build out the country, let me still at my price. you want to import sparkling water, go to the import-export window. Then that water will be 10,000 naira in crate. Then nobody will buy it. Then if you want to buy that water because you're rich, there's no problem. But you can't bring in sparkling water when there is margolines, there's all that stuff in Nigeria. It doesn't make, we don't need it. We don't need it. It's not, it's water. If you have the money, bring it in. It's expensive. People buy it. It's a luxury. But we should take Nigeria's foreign reserves to import sparkling water. That's why I put you halfway. You should have courage. That's what I think. Yeah. Go for it. Yeah. Sure, go ahead.
So if you guys remember by 2020, CBS action program alongside other companies for illegal forest trading. So what happened was that Promasio was having seriously at the time to actually pay for imported pig that they buy to produce the cowbells. I'm sure sorry, no cowbell in Nigeria, but Promasio don't do. I think they said this whole lot of South African country because some of my clients. Now what Promasio did was that they were finding very, very expensive. So they were going to South Africa when it was still very difficult. Then they started mopping out dollars in black market rate, and CBN was not happy with that. So CBN now forced them to then go through the imported technology, which they did. That now created a serious problem for them. Now, if you buy dollars, you can have your money tied down for months, and you don't even get to execute the transaction. So because of that, they started doing a kind of swap trade because they got a lot of. So it's a really good challenge. But if that window has been liberalized, that window has floated, they can go there, into that window, and then they can then buy it, but they have to be willing to even pay anyway. But because they are having to buy dollars at the higher consequence, so they don't really know the policy at the end.
You're right. And this is the thing, EK. You have to allow to, if I want to buy an Arsenal jersey, how much an Arsenal jersey shirt? Is it important to Nigeria's economy? If it is not important to import export, you get your dollar at 1,500 and you import your Arsenal jersey. But if I want to import insulin, I want to import baby food, sure, the CBN can sell to you. Same thing with education and health. Is it important? Is it not important? What about health? We need to have a conversation over what imports are important, what's not important, and you pay for it. I just say, oh, you can import anything you like with CBN. It doesn't make any sense. But winding down, guys, just thank you all for this. I'm going to wind down, please. I'm just going to take on, oh my Gali Musen, G-H-L-I, got closer. Gali going once, Gali going twice. Dolly, Logical, on the floor. I haven't seen you. Let's get Kazim. If we don't have Kazim, we'll also Kazim, Ayodele. All right, folks. So we spent about, let's say, about 4.5 hours here. Kevin, thank you so much. EK, thanks so much. Thank you so much, guys. You guys have brought a lot of color to the conversation. Like we now have a better understanding. I hope one day we might have a 24-hour spaces. We can set it up so that we'll have folks come in and then we can just talk. For now, I agree, but I mean, it will be interesting to have you guys come in here and we just talk about the economy, exchange rates, imports, forex, employment. Just talk about everything. People can come and ask questions and we can respond. If we can for 24 hours, I'll get maybe co-hosters. We can all be there, like them 7 and all that. It will be interesting to just to learn from you guys and all this information you guys have. So I appreciate you guys for dropping here and making conversation very, very rich. Thank you so much. Guys, we do this every Saturday, or at least we try to 7 p.m. We might wait to Sunday, but now every Saturday, 7 p.m. We'll talk about money, the economy, and of course your personal finance and how it affects you. My name is Kyle Aja. Guys, get my book. Let's talk about your money. Personal finance made easy, no buzzwords, lots of pictures. You would love it. Yeah, it's on Amazon and of course you can hide. On that note, guys, I just want to wish you guys a nice evening wherever you're listening from in Nigeria, West Africa, or in the US. Have a great day. Let's see what next week brings. It should be interesting to look at the exchange rate and see if it's going to keep on going up or going to start to fall. We won't know. All right, guys, have a good one. Love you all, and bye.